we're having several weeks of presentations. Next week is going to be Advaita Acharya's, and the week after that is going to be Lord Nityananda's. And I hope, did you get Kamalini to agree? Cool. So I won't give that class. I just want to test the sound, because last time I used sound here, it was too soft. If we can make this sound maybe a little louder. Just a little. Just a little. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. January 31st, 2022 in Hillsborough, North Carolina, reading from Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 32, the reunion, text 1. Shri Sukha Uvacha Iti Gopya Pragayantya Pralapantyascha Chitrada Rurudusu Swaram Rajan Krishna Darshana Lalasa. Digopya Pragayantya Pralay Panchascha Chitrada Burudusu Swaram Rajan Krishna Darshana Lalasa. Shri Sukha Uvacha Iti Gopya Pragayantya Pralapanchascha Chitrada Rurudusu Swaram Rajan Krishna Darshana Lalasa. Shri Sukha Uvacha. Shri Sukadeva Goswami said, Iti, thus, as related above, Gopyaha, the gopis, Pragayantyaha, singing forth, Pralapantyaha, speaking forth, Cha, and Chitrada, in various charming ways. Ruruduhu, they cried, Suswaram, loudly, Rajan, O Krishna, Krishna Darshana, for the sight of Krishna, Lalasaha, hankering. BBT translation. Sukadeva Goswami said, O king, having thus sung and spoken their hearts out in various charming ways, the gopis began to weep loudly. They were very eager to see Lord Krishna. They sang, they talked, and they had nothing more to sing and say, and so they simply cried. We'll look at Jiva Goswami's commentary. Singing loudly because of intense prema, pragayantaha, in this way with other words as well, iti, and sometimes intensely discussing various topics, they wept. But because of affection in separation, sometimes their words were meaningless. The words chitrada, variously or colorfully, should modify singing and discussing. They wept with long, drawn-out sounds, suswaram. Shukadeva addresses Parikshit, O king, because of their longing to see him, this weeping was appropriate. Sri Sukha Uvacha iti gopya pragayantya pralapantyascha chitrada rurudu su swaram rajam Krishna darshana lalasaha. O king, having thus sung and spoken their hearts out in various charming ways, the gopis began to weep loudly. They were very eager to see Lord Krishna. So I want to focus on this word, lalasaha. Lalasaha, this great eagerness, is also a particular type of prayer. And so I realized, I have a whole presentation on prayer that also talks about the lalasa prayer. And I was asked to put this together by Iskon Lester. And I thought, actually, that would be very appropriate. Okay. So we're going to look at Vandanam, different ways of offering prayers, as the gopis here are doing that. They're calling out to Krishna, they're singing to Krishna, they're talking to Krishna with lalasa. So we might say, well, there's just chanting Hare Krishna. But when Yamuna was with Srila Prabhupada and just started chanting Hare Krishna, he said to her, Vandanam, Vandanam. And then Srila Prabhupada interrupted and started singing. That was at the initiation of my god sister Rukmini in 1968 in Montreal. So this Vandanam, this prayer calling out to the Lord, is done with words, with mind, and with body. And of course we see this in the gopis with the songs of the gopis, which is basically ending here, that they're praying verbally, with their singing, with their talking, their minds fully absorbed, and even their bodies fully absorbed. So we're going to look first at verbal and mental, and then we'll briefly look at bodily. So in verbal and mental, there's 3 different categories of prayers. If it sounds really low, can you raise the volume? I'm assuming the music. Are you able to make it louder? Yeah. It should be going through the internet. Yes. Jagaguru has it set up so that it's going through the internet. Unless somebody mess with it. Jagaguru set it up a week ago Sunday. Unless anybody messed with it. Okay. Well, we'll work at it before Lord Nityananda's appearance day, which is the next time I won't be using sound for Advaitacharya. So this is Sampartanatmika, very feelingly offering prayers. Of course, all this is explained in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu and in the Nectar of Devotion. So what are some examples of this type of prayer? So one example is Yuvati namita yuni yuvnancha yuvato yata manobrahmate tadvan manome ramatvam tvayi. This is the Padma Purana quoted in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 12153. Anybody know what this means? Very, very famous prayer. Just like the minds of young men and women take pleasure in thinking of each other, so let my mind take pleasure in thinking of you. Let me spontaneously think of you, just like young men and women spontaneously think of each other. Another good example of this kind of prayer is Krishna Deva Bhavantam Vande Manmanasa Madhukanam Arpayanija Pada Pankaja Makarande. This is written by Rupa Goswami. Krishna Deva And this is a very similar prayer. May my mind that is just like a bee. May my mind like a bee become offered at your feet, which are lotuses of nectar. So to have the same idea, the first one was the idea of just like young men and women are attracted, and here just like bees are naturally attracted to flowers. Let my mind be attracted to you like that. Another example that Rupa Goswami gives is Prasida Bhagavan. Oh Lord, be merciful to me. This is from Bhagavatam 11:27-45. So these prayers can be offered not only, this very feelingly offering prayers, it's not only just in Vrindavan, but any devotee anywhere can be saying, Lord, please be merciful to me. Of course, this is a prayer well known to the Christians, right? Oh Lord, be merciful to me. And then there's humbly submitting oneself. This is the next category of prayer, Dainya Bodhika, a prayer of great humility. So this is the Padma Purana quoted in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 1-154. And this is part of the prayers that Bhaktivinoda Thakur has is in his Bhajana Rahasya, prayers with the body. So I hope that you've relished this presentation and become inspired in offering prayers. Yes? Just acknowledging someone's... Interesting. Well, it's interesting, like when Bhaktivinoda talks about not offending devotees, he said that we should always feel joy when we see another devotee. That's not always easy, is it? Certain people, like, I don't really want to see that person. But to always feel joy, here's somebody who's worshiping Krishna. Yeah, to acknowledge someone who walks in the room. Actually, Peter Burwash talks about, he would, I don't know if he still does this, but every year he would anonymously call various temples and see how they answered the phone. And then he would make a report about how different temples received you in the phone. And he would also visit temples anonymously, he's a very famous person, and see how he was greeted. Right? And some temples you're greeted, some temples you're not. Actually, one of my, one person I know who's a secret Hare Krishna, he's a very famous Catholic monk. He's authored many books, and he often speaks to audiences of hundreds of thousands of people on Catholicism, but he also chants 16 rounds and offers his food, follows regular principles, and reads Prabhupada's books. And he said when he was first investigating Krishna consciousness, he visited several temples, and nobody said hello. And he said he was about to give up, like on the 5th temple. He said he was visiting in Alachua. He'd gone to Mangalartik, and again, nobody had said anything to him. Nobody had said, hello, are you here for the first time? You know. And so he was walking out the door thinking, I guess this Krishna consciousness is not for me. And my god sister Nanda, he said, cross the gender line in the temple and went over to him and said, hi, are you here for the first time? Yeah. But yeah, to what extent we show respect to other people. Throughout the Shastra, if one doesn't show respect to other people, one cannot, but all living entities, what to speak of other humans. I was thinking about that when I took a spider out of the bathroom this morning. So if we don't show respect to all other living entities, there's no way we can approach God. Lord Kapila said that's like making an offering into ashes instead of a fire. Thank you very much. Hopefully we will get the mercy of the gopis who are truly in this Lala Samaya. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.